guest. You're going to be glad you did. Here with Dr. Miguel Rivera. Before we went to break, we started touching on diet as a root cause of a lot of diseases in this country. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. You know, we know, Mike, that that diet is related to the top killers of Americans. You know, cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, strokes, cancer, diabetes. These are all diseases that have one thing in common: the food that we put in our mouths.
People may have trouble connecting that because they're going to say, well, I had a stroke because my arteries got clogged. What does that have to do with it? Maybe you can elaborate on that.
Well, you know, you are what you eat. Mm-hmm. It's been said since the beginning of time, and if you choose foods that are wholesome and that are low in processing, you know, in the research that I've done, there are three main things that if you want to keep your cognition and your health alive, you should really consider. Number one, that is to lower the amount of animal protein that is consumed. Number two, increase the raw foods. Number three...
What do you mean by raw foods?
Things that have been prepared with less than 120 degrees of heat.
So like lightly cooking, steaming, things like that?
Yeah, we don't even use the word cooking, we say preparing, okay. You know. But yeah, just very, very light stuff, you know, because, you know, water boils at like over 200 degrees. So when you steam something, you're really exposing them to some heat. And the thing is that by not cooking things, the natural enzymes that help us absorb what is there are kept intact. And anytime that you put in your body something that has the life force in it, that is alive, our body takes that and assimilates it. Whenever we put something that is cooked or dead in our body, the energy from our body is required to process that. The other thing, and actually you showed me that article in your office when we met the other day, was to alkalize your diet, to choose things that create more of an alkaline environment.
I think that's a new concept to a lot of people, but it's really been around for quite some time, the difference between an acidic and alkaline environment in your body, and supposedly germs can't live in an alkaline environment.
Germs cannot live there, cancer cannot live there. You know, many people have been cured by cancer by just alkalizing their diet and not providing in the body an environment where viruses and cells of cancer and things like that can thrive.
The scary thing is we've been brought down this path of how to eat in this country, and most of our diet is acidic.
You bet, and it has tons and tons of sugar.
Yeah.
You know, they did a study, Mike, where they took laboratory rats, and they fed the two groups the same food, except that the research group, they gave it a solution of water and sugar to pretend that they were drinking sodas. And by the end of the study, these rats had gained weight, had developed insulin resistance, had slower cognition, had difficulty learning, and had developed the findings that are associated with dementia, just by adding sugar water.
From the articles that I've read, it seems like it's not really too late to make a change and create a healthy environment in your body that actually reverses a lot of the major diseases that we have in this country.
Absolutely. Listen, you know, my mom had some stents put in, and I showed her that Dean Ornish came with this study, you know, with this research back in the 80s, and he published a book that was called Reversing Cardiovascular Disease. Number one thing, diet. You want to improve your overall kind of health, you need to pay attention to what you eat. You want to improve your cognition, you need to pay attention to what you eat. And again, sugar is a main issue. Sugar is a main culprit.
I read that they really believe that the sugar is what's causing the diabetes problem, which is off the charts in this country.
Absolutely. You know, we have an epidemic of diabetes in our youth, and we know that. And actually, some studies are coming out there where people are saying, you know, this may be the first generation that does not get to live as long as their parents did.
Wow.
because diabetes shortens your life significantly, and it's different.
Sure.
I mean, when you develop
hideous disease.
It is, and now it's been you're getting it as a child. I mean, what is that going to do to your kidneys, to your vision, to your cardiovascular
So what happens
system?
when you just start taking insulin? I mean, it's like a crutch for your body where it doesn't have to.
Well, it's just like everything else. It's a way to address the symptom, because Gabriel Cousins, Dr. Cousins in Arizona, he just put out a video that is called Raw for 30 Days, and he took 6 insulin-dependent diabetics and he put them through 30 days of raw foods and supplements, and at the end of those 30 days, all of them were what we call euglycemic. None of them had any diabetic symptoms. All of them were off of insulin by changing what you eat.
And is he a medical doctor?
Yes, he is. He's an MD.
So there's got to be some credibility there because he's got that behind his name. But there's been a lot of alternative medicine doctors that have been shut down for trying to prove these things.
Yeah, but we have the Hippocrates Institute here where they treat people with cancer, and they've been doing it.
Where's that?
It's here in Florida. And they treat people with right food, with the other thing is, the stress in your life. How are you handling that? So things like meditation, yoga, music are things that are very, very helpful because...
Before we get into the mind, I want to go back a quick minute because, you mentioned eating right, but we almost don't know what that means anymore. Can you expand on what people should really be considering? And you mentioned, eating more raw foods in your diet. People don't necessarily know what that means. I mean, does that mean not cooking anything?
I think that if people are really interested in learning about this, there's good information out there. And, I am not a raw foodist. But I am certainly increasing the amount of raw foods that I eat because I think it's really important. So what I've done is my wife and I are buying books. We are, we read online. We watch videos.
And there's, like you said, there's so much information.
And there is a wealth of information out there. But we have begun supplementing with like greens supplements, for example, that have different kinds of grasses and probiotics and things like that. Things like goji berries and raw chocolate. We prepare smoothies in the morning where my wife takes like kale and spinach and celery and pine nuts and things like that, goji berries, and blends them up and a little bit of agave and nectar instead of sugar. And they're delicious, and
it's not that hard.
And it's not that difficult to eat it either. It can be made quite palatable.
Okay, we have to go break right now. Stay with us. When we come back with Mike Rivera, we'll hear more about how to improve your health.